This is a quick review of the Rene Herse Fleecer Ridge tyres, and it's based on the close to 5,000 kilometer bikepacking and bike touring trip I did through Europe along parts of the southern European Divide bikepacking trail. And I'll share some of my conclusions about how they worked on different surfaces and how they survived the trip. I used them on my Riverside 920 touring, a bike I bought specifically for this trip. And it came originally with some Schwalbe tyres, but I wanted to try these Rene Herse Fleecer Ridge tyres. I have used them in a 55mm, a 2.2 inch width, and they are the endurance version, which has a slightly harder or a slightly more solid sidewall and should really be able to handle a little bit more punishment. The quick version is that I am very, very happy with these tyres. They have survived the full trip, and even though I did eventually get a puncture on the rear tyre and had to put a tube into it, they were mounted tubeless originally. It's not so much a fault of the tyre, is that I ran out of sealant basically. I feel that if I would have had more sealant, I would have just been able to fill it up and it would have sealed up and survived quite okay. The trip was quite rough. There was a range of different surfaces, everything from mud to gravel to pure paved surfaces, and they have been pretty comfortable on just about anything. The only thing I can really compare them to are a set of Surly ET 2.5 inch tyres that I used on my last long trip through Europe. And there are a couple of things that are better with these, and one thing that is slightly worse. Generally, these offer better grip than the Surly ETs in all conditions, even on pavement, surprisingly. And they are much better on dirt and gravel and in mud. The knobs work quite well and they give quite a good grip. And because the rubber is a little bit softer, it actually gives quite good grip even on paved surfaces. They are also more comfortable than the ETs. The ETs are a slightly heavier tyre, and these are a little bit more supple, a little bit more comfortable, and they give a little bit more. It's not a great difference, but you do notice the difference when you ride them back to back. The only place where these are worse than the Surly ETs is in how long they last. I did almost 10,000 kilometers on the Surly ETs, and the rear tyre was completely worn out, but the front still had some life in it. Whereas I've done 5,000 kilometers on these, the rear tyre is more or less worn out and the front has more life in it. So basically, you're getting half the life. But that's the payoff you have to make if you want the better grip that these offer in well, basically every condition on every surface. And it's a payoff I would gladly make. I prefer these, the better grip, especially on gravel and in muddy conditions. The only time I would probably choose something like the ETs instead is if I'm going on a more touring oriented or around the world trip where I really wanted to get the maximum mileage out of each tyre. For something like the European Divide bikepacking trail, you'd probably go through 2 of these. One set probably wouldn't last. You'd probably need to change halfway through, or I would need to anyway. For some of the other longer trails, they'll probably do the whole trail quite without changing, and that'll be quite a nice trip. I'm happy with them. They work quite well. They're reasonably expensive compared to a lot of other tyres, but I'd say that they're worth it. They're a high quality tyre that lasts, offers great grip, and quite comfortable. Recommended.